Hello and welcome. My name is Tanya Johnson. I'm a registered psychologist, registered play therapist, co-founder of the Institute of Child Psychology. Today we're going to be chatting a little bit about traditional discipline and why it flops. We're also going to take a brief look at what to do instead. Okay, so for many people listening to this, you've probably had a timeout. You've probably been yelled at. Perhaps you were spanked. For many of us, we may have had things taken away from us when we misbehaved. And we may say, you know what, Tanya, I was spanked and I turned out just fine. Our response at the Institute to that always is, just like many of us drove in cars when we were younger, where there was no seatbelts, and we turned out just fine, we now have more information, which helps us to make better choices. When we know better, we do better. Let's chat a little bit first about timeouts, and then we'll have a look at spanking, yelling, and taking away the things that our children love. So timeouts were originally devised in the late 1990s, and they were actually there to keep parents from hurting their kiddos. So when parents were upset, the advice was, get your child to move into a different space. Makes sense, doesn't it? But then something crazy happened. Timeouts started to be used all over the place for everything. And we had these crazy formulas, like if your kid is 3, pop them in the corner for 3 minutes. If your kid is 5, pop them in the corner for 5 minutes. Think about what a timeout does though. There's a number of issues with it. The first is, it says to our children, if you are struggling, I will leave you by yourself with those uncomfortable emotions to sort out by yourself. We'll talk about the issue with that in a second. But I'm going to put you over there with those icky emotions. When you are ready to be nice and sweet and happy and compliant and friendly and bubbly and apologetic, then you can come back. What we've said to our kid is that their messy emotions are uncomfortable for us. If our child is 5 and we push them away at 5, how do we ever think that they're going to come and speak to us when they're 15, when they're 25, when they're 30? We want our children to know that I can go into those uncomfortable places with you, that I can sit with you in your messy feelings, and I can be totally present with you. You don't have to do this alone. The other interesting thing is that primarily kids are put in timeout, usually the age of 7 and under. That's primarily where we see it. We know that our children's executive functioning part of the brain usually only comes online, just starting to come online, between the ages of 5 to 7. For our children who are highly sensitive, our children with mental health issues, children who have been through trauma, children with developmental differences, it's often quite a bit later. Very, 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 very few children who are in a timeout have the capacity to sit there and go, next time I think that I should share with my brother. That would be a really good idea. They don't. They're sitting there trying to figure out what I need to do to get out of this timeout. How long have I been here for? Trying to work through all those feelings of being mad, being infuriated, but having nowhere to actually put those feelings. It's the same. If I was sent to my bedroom when I had big feelings, I would be absolutely infuriated. Yet we do it to our children all of the time. The research also shows us that children who are put in timeouts more frequently have higher behavior issues. We need something different for our kiddos. They need an adult to step in as that thinking brain for them, as that surrogate prefrontal cortex, somebody who can help quieten their nervous system so that they can actually learn and grow. Kids don't learn and grow by sitting by themselves in their bedroom. If anything, they become more resentful. So that's timeouts. Spanking, we know the research is clear that children who are spanked have higher issues with behavior and mental health issues later on, which makes so much sense. We stuff it down because we are scared, because the person who is supposed to protect us in the world is the person that's actually hurting us. And we do not teach children to not hit by hitting. We need to do better for our kids. Yelling is a reaction. It is not a response. When we yell, it is because our system is stressed. Children will be quiet. They will clamp down because they are scared. But not because of the yelling, not because they change their behavior. It's because of fear. I want my kids to shift their behavior because they've learned, because they've grown, not because they're scared of me. And then the final one we'll talk about today is when we take things away from kiddos. So, okay, you're not behaving. I'm going to clear your room of your toys, or I'm going to take away that Barbie. Again, we need to ask ourselves, with that conventional discipline, what are we really teaching our children? In that moment, I'm teaching them that I know you deeply. I know you care about that Barbie. And so I'm going to take it away. And so we've taught them that when I get close to somebody, they can hurt me because they know what hurts me. And so what I want us all to do is to just take a deep breath and ask ourselves, when my child makes a misstep, what do I need? What do they need in that moment? Discipline, guidance needs to be about teaching. It needs to be about growth, not about pain, not about hurt, not about teaching kids to stuff down their feelings. And so for some families, what we might want to look at instead of a timeout is staying with our child, being that surrogate prefrontal cortex. Children need multiple experiences of co-regulation before they're ever able to self-regulate. It's not through our words that we teach our children. It's through our bodies. It's through our energy. It's through repeated role modeling. So the next time that your child is upset, instead of sending them away, stay close. Soften your shoulders. Soften your breathing. Soften your voice. Soften your face. This is how they're learning. Don't speak too many words. When we speak too many words, it pushes them into a stress response. Be still. Say just what is needed. We can put a limit in if a limit is needed. We can let them know, I'm here. You're safe. I love you. You can scream and kick and have those big feelings. And only once they're calm, it can be half an hour later, it can be 2 hours later, it can be that evening, we can say, okay, let's talk about what happened here. What happened for you, and listen to them. Ah, I see. You were upset because I said that we were going to go to Dairy Queen and then we didn't. Ah, listen to those feelings without fixing. And then tell them about your experience. I was frustrated because when you started yelling, it railroaded our whole day. Let's think about how we can actually fix this next time. Come up with some solutions together. Pick one and then work on that one solution. This is how we raise problem solvers. One day when my girls are grown up, I want them to be able to have a voice, to be able to speak, to be able to think, and to be able to question those who are in authority. That doesn't just happen magically when they are 20 or 30. That is through repeated experiences of feeling safe, even in stressful situations.